Okay, you're live.
What's up, everybody? How's it going, Trevor? Happy National Fill Your Face with Pollen Day,
dude.
month.
It is, dude. I've got the Barry White voice. I'm channeling Barry White right now, and yeah. So we were talking earlier in this week out here in Oregon, guys. There's pollen on vehicles right now, but on Saturday last week, I was with Colt and my son at a 4-H show, like a livestock show.
Oh yeah.
And we pulled up our trailer, and the goats show on day one and the sheep show on day two, and there was just piles of goat hair. No clue I was allergic to goats, dude. And I'm still feeling it today. Like, I think it embedded in my lungs, it embedded everywhere.
Oh man.
And then the pollen hit, and so I'm working through it. So if anyone hears my voice a little bit differently, it's what it is. I'm not channeling or going to make a Barry White album anytime soon.
Well, now you are the goat. You're around the goats. You are officially the GOAT now, as the kids would say. Well, everybody, we are going to talk about page speed. We're not here to talk about allergies and goats. But anyways, if you got questions on page speed, drop them in the comments. That's what we're talking about today. Why does it matter? What's important? Let us know. It's not the most exciting topic, but it does matter, and it's something that's often overlooked. So let us know. And yeah, it's been really cool to see a lot of the engagement we've been getting in the Facebook group the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We're over 600 members right now, which is super awesome to see.
It's been growing quick, man. Yeah. It's been growing quick. I think we're going to be over 1,000 in no time. My guess is sometime early to midsummer. Probably midsummer. Get over 1,000. Get the carrot ecosystem, the community, over 1,000. It's gonna be, the engagement's gonna be killer. And we've got thousands of carrot members out there. So if you're listening to this on the podcast or watching it on YouTube and you're not a part of the Evergreen Marketing community, go to community.carrot.com, join the community, because every single day there's people asking for advice, analyzing people's websites, analyzing their marketing, sharing wins. Tons of deal wins are being shared every single week. It's fun. Guys, get over there, community.carrot.com.
Rock and roll. All right. Well, let's do it. Let's kick it off. Yeah, let's jump into the podcast here.
Cool.
You guys, before we transfer over, we're not on Facebook at the moment. We're on YouTube. We got people on YouTube here, but this new setup for Facebook.
We're not in Facebook yet.
So I don't know if there's just a delay, but
okay,
it could be.
But we are on YouTube. We got people over there, and we can't see the YouTube comments. So
everybody watching on YouTube, stand by with us for 1 sec. We're taking a look at something. We're trying to stream to our Facebook group.
Facebook made some changes recently, y'all, and it kind of caught everybody by off guard. So I guess what was it, Braden, that they made it Monday, to where you can't
they removed on Monday. Facebook removed any third-party app support for groups like this.
Okay, I think I got it. All right. I think we're live in Facebook. Okay, drop a comment if you see us, if you hear us, if you love us. If you want to learn about page speed today, awesome. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Trevor and I were just sitting here talking about everything under the sun, not knowing we weren't live in the Facebook group.
We were talking about goats. We were talking about allergies. We were talking about page speed.
Y'all missed some really valuable conversation. The podcast is actually over. We already talked about it.
Q&A time now. Q&A time
now. Anyways, thank you guys for being patient. If you're in the Facebook group, drop a comment. Any questions you have on site speed, that's what we're talking about today. What is White Matters. So drop a comment. Excited to see you guys in the Facebook group. It's been cool to see the engagement, and looking forward to answering some questions today and diving into the nitty gritty of page speed. So that being said, let's kick off the podcast.
Let's do it.
Page speed. What is it? Why does it matter? How much does it matter? And how do you keep your website loading fast? It matters for SEO. It matters for conversion. And really today we're going to answer some of the burning questions people have or don't have on page speed, so that you can keep your site loading fast, so you can get leads and close more deals. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to break it down. Trevor, we're talking about page speed, man.
Dude, so page speed is one of the three main things that we look at for performance here at Carrot, right? So when we talk about performance at Carrot, And what we've really been driving over the last decade is three main things. It's the ability to convert a visitor once they get their conversion. It's the speed of a website, right? And then number three, but not in any particular order, it's SEO. It's how can you rank well. The cool thing that we're talking about today with page speed is actually page speed dramatically impacts, not dramatically, it impacts both conversion and SEO. And so this is a really cool topic today, but there's a lot of misnomers about page speed. There's a lot of people who put page speed as way too important with SEO and not important enough with conversion. There's people who ignore page speed completely. There's people who look at it as the holy grail and probably are over optimizing for speed and under optimizing for conversion in some areas. So hopefully we're going to be able to go through and blast through some of those limiting belief or misperceptions about page speed. Then we're going to walk you through really what page speed actually is, how to truly measure it the right way. What are some of the biggest things that impact page speed? We'll show you guys some of the specific things, all the way from tech stack related stuff to stuff you can go do on your site today. And then we'll kind of finish up with a few things that are like how do you actually test page speed the right way? Because I think most people test it the wrong way.
Absolutely. I'm going to do something for you guys, for y'all listening to the podcast or watching this after the fact. I'm just going to look at my notes and let you guys know what we're going to talk about so you can decide if this is something that's for you or not. So what we're about to cover is what tool to use, how do you actually measure page speed, what's the right way to measure it, why does it matter, how much does it matter, how fast is fast enough, what are the scores you need to see for both desktop and mobile. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the scores, kind of what makes those up. And then really how to keep it loading fast. So from your tech stack, the things on your website, we're going to talk about scripts and plugins, what not to do, what to do with scripts and plugins on your site, images and videos. That's a huge one. If you're uploading images, video content to your website, how do you make sure it doesn't slow it down? And really just how to run a test correctly. So yeah. Let's get into it, man. So what tool to use? So we got conflicting views on Google Page Speed Insights. We got GT Metrics. Those are the ones that we use. There's 1,000 others. Any preference on which one and kind of the drawbacks of each of them?
Yeah, I mean, they're all useful tools at the end of the day. We even have our site audit tool, right, which grabs a page speed score. You guys can go audit your own site, carrot.com/site-audit. We'll link it up in the notes. It's going to give you a page speed. And really depends on what you're looking for. So a tool like GT Metrics is going to give you crazy detailed information if you're wanting just to optimize the little nuances of it, right? And you're going to get a little bit different score on GT Metrics than Google Page Speed, than Pingdom, or probably even our tool. If we're talking about just really optimizing for conversion or optimizing every little nuance, a tool like GT Metrics is killer because you can slice and dice all of the different parts of page speed. You're going to want to be more technical if you're going to be using that tool. But I love that tool. Where Google Page Speed Insights is really key, and I use both, and they're both good, is if you're really looking at it from the SEO perspective and asking, like, what is Google potentially looking at when it's weighing my site versus others potentially in Google rankings. It's going to gauge you. It's going to grade you for Core Web Vitals. So that's number one, right? We've got to for sure say, does this pass Core Web Vitals? And it's going to tell you really quick, yes or no, pass, not pass. Okay, that's a good thing. If it passes, that's the most important part. Okay, and Google Page Speed is the tool that is going to give you that.
Yeah.
After it passes,
asking for a friend. If I didn't know what Core Web Vitals was, explain this to me like I'm 5, Trevor.
Yeah, dude. So the highest level is if there was a bar and they say you got to get over this bar, and this is just kind of that minimum bar. You got to get over this bar to kind of be in the, be included in the group of sites that Google's going to say, yeah, these are the best ones. Right. So we're going to give them a better chance. You have to have your site load within 2.5 seconds. They say, cool, it's got to load within 2.5 seconds. And that's the main part of Core Web Vitals. We'll stop it there, right?
Yeah.
If your site loads within 2.5 seconds and their tool will tell you, then that's going to be the biggest bar that you've got to step over there.
Right.
If it takes 5 seconds for it to load, and we're going to walk you through what are the things that can make a site load slow, you just got to fix those past that test.
That's the first version of fast enough. If you're not passing Core Web Vitals, it's going to impact your SEO.
Yep, exactly. And even Carrot members, right? Like even Carrot members, people will ask the question, well, does Carrot pass Core Web Vitals? 100% it does. when you launch your site. But what can happen is we've seen some people load the website with a bunch of scripts, right? They've got 7 different scripts on there. They've got a live chat box. They've got this thing. They've got that thing. They've got this. They've got that. Then all of a sudden, if it loads too slow because of all the things added to it later, then it has a chance of not passing core web vitals because of what was added to it after launch. So we'll kind of walk you guys through those things. But I would use both of them. I tend to probably use PageSpeed Insights a little bit more, but I'll run on both. And I'll just say, hey, I'm going to aim for a 90 or above on the performance score on Google PageSpeed for desktop. And I want to for sure be over 50 on mobile. And then for GT metrics, I always want to be in that green A. I'd love to be an A+ every time, but a green A is where we really want to be for sure.
Yeah. There's an interesting article I stumbled across as we were getting ready for the podcast about site speeds specifically for SEO. And I'll link it up. A Search Engine Journal put out an article about, how much does page speed matter for SEO? And the main takeaway from that article was, while page speed remains vital for user experience, it may not directly influence search rankings if the content has issues. And so that's in the context of it has to pass core web vitals. But Google is concerned about, really, it always goes back to EAT, the experience, expertise, authority, and trust, and is the content formatted in a valuable way? And so, that's what they care about.
Dude, so here's a killer example, right? Because there's a lot of people in this space, in the real estate space, that there's a whole landing page versus website debate, right?
Yeah.
And there's the discussion of, man, well, what if we use this tool that gets a 99 out of 100 page speed score and it's a landing page? Is that better than a site that gets a 92, but it's got a bunch of content on it? Is that going to work better? Well, it depends on what your use is for. We're going to have other future episodes on what you use for paid traffic, a landing page versus like a mini site homepage. And in that case, if you're trying to rank that page well, it doesn't matter if it's a 99 out of 100 score if it doesn't have enough robustness of content and enough of the EAT on their expertise, authority, and trust to be able to have Google go, this page is an authority. So if the only site you have is a landing page, and you think that landing page or that slim site with 800 words on it is going to do the trick, even if it's 99 out of 100, that fast speed is actually at the cost of ranking well because you don't have enough content on it. So we'll kind of talk about the trade-offs here in a bit, because it really is a trade-off. If you want to go from a 83 or an 85 on the desktop on page speed up to a 95, there may be trade-offs, and maybe you have to remove this script that you wanted to have on there that adds this thing, or it maybe you need to adjust your design a little bit to make it less image heavy or something like that. There might be trade-offs.
Interesting. So we talked about, okay, so we've gone past what tools do you use? Why does it matter? How much does it matter? How fast is fast enough? Trevor, you mentioned 90 plus on desktop is what you want to see, and at least a 50 on mobile.
Dude, let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Why mobile speed? Why is the mobile speed always so low? And people can look at this, like people can pull up, even Carrot members will pull up, their website on Google PageSpeed Insights, be like, my mobile score is super low. Panic. What do I do? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I'm going to type up into Google right now just to kind of show you guys. Like, if you were to go to Google, and Braden, show my screen here. I haven't even shown it yet, have I? I'm on. Okay, I got to balance my things here. So I'm just going to Google and type up what does Google Page Speed Insights look at for mobile score 2024? And just a quick Google search, guys. You're going to be able to find most of these answers just with a quick Google search, or probably even ChatGPT might be able to help you out. But as I kind of go through some of these a little bit, the reason that the mobile score is slower than the desktop score, okay, is because it's usually that what their tool gauges off of is it gauges off of a certain type of a device, a certain type of a cell phone device, and it's not an iPhone 15. Okay, so they're not going to bring the newest, latest devices to test off of. They're usually testing off of several devices old, and we can probably even pull up in here exactly which devices they're using in here. But then number two is they usually test off of a not the fastest type of network. They're not testing off of an LTE network or a 5G network. Even a couple of years ago, they were testing off of a throttled 3G network, which a very small percentage of America, even at that time, were using a throttled 3G network.
Right.
And so I want you guys to recognize and realize that if you see a mobile page speed score of, let's say, a 54 or 58, that's not bad. It's actually good, but it's not an accurate representation of what your actual website visitors are experiencing. Because if you're in an area with LTE where everybody in that area really is using LTE or 5G, and if the person's using an iPhone 12 or an iPhone 15, they're going to have a much faster load time. So we always have to recognize, well, what area am I in? Where are the people that I'm likely going to be attracting? Where are they searching from? If it's from their cell phones, am I in an area with LTE? If so, that's probably LTE or 5G is probably what is going to be the actual network people are on. And most of your prospects are probably not going to be on 7-year ago phone. Right. So your actual page speed that the consumer is going to feel is likely going to be a good bit higher than what Google reports. They're reporting almost the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
But it's tricky. Like unless you were to in the nuances, go to Google and type up like there are maps online. I even found one earlier. What are the networks? What are the mobile network speeds in my area? There's maps that show you, is your area mainly covered with LTE or 5G? If so, then you're going to have an actual quicker website than what Google page speed is showing.
Yeah. And the interesting thing on the contrary, man, is like there's still, so many rural markets that investors are operating in where, there's no cell phone service and somebody might just have satellite internet.
Yeah.
And so if you're ignoring page speed and, you're in a super rural market where, people have satellite internet, like it's going to be harder to get away with a much slower loading website.
Yep.
Like, are people going to have the patience for that website to load?
Exactly.
It's interesting.
And that's where, like on GT metrics, if you do a page speed test in GT metrics, you can choose where the servers are. And so that's something we're going to show you guys how to do a page speed test correctly. But if I'm in Oregon as an example, and it's running the page speed test from somewhere else, sometimes it's overseas, sometimes it's way up into northern Canada, sometimes it's over in the East Coast. I want to pick the closest servers to where I am that likely represent the type of a person who's going to be doing a search, and always select the same location. Always do the page speed test from the same location. People will run a page speed test and someone over here runs the test and it's from a Vancouver, Washington server on GT metrics. And then they run it themselves and it pulls up an Australia server. And you're going, oh my gosh, my website's slow. Well, no, you're running it from an Australia server versus the Vancouver, Washington server, or Vancouver, Canada server, which is closer.
Right.
So always run it from the closest area to you and always pick the exact same location. And if you guys are comparing page speeds, make sure that they're being ran from the same servers or the same locations on GT metrics if you're using that tool.
Yeah, it's interesting. And if this is brand new to you, you can, for the simplest comparison, it's like when you're checking your internet speed, if I'm wanting to check my internet speed, I can go to Google and type like internet speed check test. And I might have a different server or a different result based on what my local internet company is going to send me to.
Yep, exactly.
It's going off local servers versus a server a million miles away. Yep. So it makes a difference.
Yep. So we're diving into some technical stuff here, guys, but we're going to get to the simplest version of it. If you're like, I don't care about all this stuff, Trevor, we're going to just go, okay, do this, this, and this, and here's some things you need to look at. But we want to give you guys the science behind it so you understand. And the biggest question we always get is that mobile one. Why is my mobile score so low? Because that's what PageSpeed Insights shows first. Yeah. Hey, bring up my screen again here, Braden, if you could.
It's going to be lower. Don't panic.
Yep. So I'm sharing on the screen right now a page speed test I ran a bit ago. And you can see on the desktop, it's 100 SEO, 100 best practices. We've got a little bit of growth we can have on accessibility, and that's mainly because of some font sizing. That's a 94 and the 94 performance. That's really, really good. If I go to mobile, though, it shows a 58, which is actually really good on mobile, too. Now, have I seen websites on mobile be way higher than this? Yep, I definitely have. But this is really good. And so the reason why, and I'm bringing this up again, there's 3 major reasons why it's going to show lower mobile and desktop. Number one, mobile devices have slower processors, right? So it's not actually saying your website is slower. It's saying from a mobile device, it's going to process that slower, okay? Also, PageSpeed Insights runs mobile tests on a slower network, like I said. So that's going to bring that score down.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily your website. It's how someone may interact with it on a slower network, slower phone, the whole thing.
Interesting. That's a good insight. Cool, man. I feel like that pretty much sums up the pretty technical part of it. Let's dive into how to keep it loading fast, and then we'll do this. We have Jose Medina put in his website in the chat. What we can do is after we're done with the podcast portion, once we jump into Q&A, Jose, we'll plug in your website, and we'll show people how to run page speed test correctly in the Q&A portion.
Heck yeah.
If you're listening to the podcast, join us in the community next week for the lives where we do that Q&A. But how to keep it loading fast. So the TLDR version of this is like Carrot does a lot of stuff for you on the back end that you don't have to worry about. I know that firsthand because I built websites in WordPress, other platforms, and there's a lot of plugins I've had to go get, a lot of extra work you got to do that you don't have to worry about with Carrot. So let's kind of cover some of the things in the tech stack, what's built into Carrot that's already doing the page speed optimization for you so that you don't think you have to go get other plugins or do extra work and waste time doing things you didn't need to do if you're already with Carrot. First, one of those things, use a high-quality host. So don't get cheap shared hosting. If you're not on Carrot, don't get cheap shared hosting. This is not something where you want to pinch pennies, but get quality web hosting that's not shared. That's included with Carrot. Have a site that's coded clean. This is one of the things that's kind of risky if you hire a web developer. You don't know if it's going to be coded clean. Carrot code is clean. It loads fast. Another thing, this is getting nerdy again, but use server-side caching and browser caching. Basically, a little bit of magic happens at the back end of Carrot where we cache it, which means that the next time somebody visits a site, it doesn't have to reload that website all the way from scratch. So the second time they come back, it loads faster. If you were to build a website from scratch or build a WordPress website, or you're going to have to get plugins that do caching for you. You have to research plugins, figure out which ones work well, etc. Another thing, use a CDN, content delivery network, to deliver assets like images. This is so nerdy, we're not even going to get deep into it, but this is just how images are served up on your website, where that media is stored. It's stored in a real physical location.
And that the only thing on that one is what most people do. Without a CDN, it's like like Brady said, your files are somewhere on a server, right? So if my files are on a server in Philadelphia and I'm in Portland, Oregon, as an example, and all my clients are in Portland, Oregon, it means every single time someone hits that website, it's pinging over to Philadelphia or wherever that actual file is sitting to be able to bring it back. Now, it happens pretty quickly. But what a CDN is a content delivery network, and it basically says, hey, we're going to actually take your files and put them on a bunch of networks around the world, and we're gonna always have a server that's really, really close to your prospect searching it. And when that person lands in your page, our system automatically recognizes where they're searching from and serves up with the closest server. So that sounds fancy, that sounds complicated, but we're just basically going, no, we're going to make it the quickest possible time by getting your client serving up that image from the closest server possible to them. We take care of all that for you.
Awesome. Any other things on tech stack, Trevor? We'll talk a little bit about like file compression, images and videos, but anything else built into the tech stack?
I mean, at the highest level, guys, the tech stack is that first biggest part. Because if you don't nail the tech stack, but then you're optimizing the heck out of the next things we talk about, which are like your scripts and plugins and images and videos and content, then you're never going to get past a certain point of optimization. And when I analyze certain websites, they're really good websites, even if they're ranking well, and they're just brutal on page speed. Usually it's not mostly their images and stuff. Usually it's the way that the code is. It's too many HTTP file requests. So that's just like the way that the code is written. Okay. So if you don't nail this part of it, y'all, every optimization past this is not gonna be effective for us. This is most important. But we're not diving crazy deep into this stuff because I know most people on here are not web developers. So we're not going to talk deeply about what an HTTP request is and those types of things. But those are all things we take care of for you, and we're always optimizing and making them better. And if you hire a really, really good web person to build a website for you, it's kind of a coin flip, right? It's like they'll oftentimes say we're good at this thing, but in practice, when we get down into it, many times they're not. But some are really, really good at making a really quick website. You just need to find those people, and it's probably going to be decently expensive, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get that website built correctly. And then the web hosting is not going to be your $9 a month web hosting. It's going to be your $40, maybe even $80 a month hosting, a virtual private server. So you're already going to be in it for well over $3,000 to $5,000 or more for the initial build out to have it done correctly. And you're still going to be in it for $50 a month or more just for hosting. And that's it. So we take care of all that for you. It's all included.
Rock and roll. So that's the tech stack. Next thing is scripts and plugins. So scripts, basically custom code you're adding your website, commonly CSS. The short version of this is you want to limit the number of scripts and custom code you're putting on your website. If you're a carrot member, this is important to not overload your website with a bunch of custom code. Trevor, you want to talk about footer versus header? Like if you do have to put in custom code, a good way to go about that?
Yeah, for sure. And Braden, pop up the screen. I'm going to show people, and I'll kind of talk through it. So when you're inside of a Carrot website, and I'll talk about what a script is and what the plugins are, but you can go down into the settings section. And the settings section of your website, then there's analytics and scripts. Okay, so once you're inside of here, you're going to see this thing that says head scripts, and you're going to see this thing that says footer scripts. So it's really easy to put the different scripts inside of Carrot that kind of, but essentially what a script is there's an outside tool somewhere. Okay, it could be Google Analytics, it could be a live chat deal, it could be a tracking tool that you're using, it could be many different things. And they're going to give you this little piece of JavaScript or this little piece of code that they say, hey, take this, and to make this work on your website, go put it in the head script area. That's what it's usually going to say. Okay. Now, the difference between head and footer is if you kind of think about how a reader reads a website. Okay. A reader, when I load a website, if I go to this sample site here, legithomebuyers.com, it's just a sample site. If I go to this sample site, I'm going to read it from the top to bottom, right? As a reader, I'm not going to go straight to the bottom and go, "Hey, I'm here now." I'm going to read it from the bottom to the top. We're always going to read it from top to bottom.
Yeah,
and that's what Google does too. When it goes to your website, it looks at your code. So they're not going to look at what I see here. They're actually going to look at this other version, which is like the actual code. It's all the non-fancy stuff. Okay, and so it's going to go from the top of the code to the bottom. If I put that script in the head, it means I'm taking this script and putting it towards the top of that code. Okay, so Google's going to read it first, meaning whatever that script is, a live chat box, a tracking script like the Facebook pixel or something like that, means as soon as that page comes up, Google's going to read it first, and then it's going to send a message out to that server that's running the live chat box or that's running the whatever, and it's going to wait for that server to reply and send it back before it starts to load everything else below it, meaning that's going to slow the page speed down. So even though something says to put it in the head script, oftentimes, I'm not going to say every time, but oftentimes you can actually put it in the footer script. And that means now instead of Google reading it at the top of that page and waiting for the reply back from Facebook or from wherever and then loading the rest, which slows your speed down, it's going to be at the bottom of the page. And so now Google's going to read all the content. It's going to load all the content. It's there. Once all that's loaded, then it's going to get to the bottom and go, oh, now let's load this thing. Now there's pros and cons. Right, so if it's a tracking script, like a conversion tracking script
Facebook
for Google,
Pixel or...
yeah, the con there is theoretically someone could, become a lead of yours. They could go to that thank you page or whatever it is. And anyway, we'll use this example. They could go to that page that the person might actually bounce off of that page before the script actually fires in the footer. So it would not show as a conversion potentially.
Oh, interesting.
So you might, in that case, like if it's a tracking script, you might be sacrificing a couple of those data points. But if it's a live chat script or something like that, someone is never going to land on a page and within 1 second want to open up live chat.
Right.
It's always going to be 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, 5 minutes in that now they're ready to hit the live chat box. So that doesn't matter at all if that loads later.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Put most of the scripts in the footer unless it's maybe a lead tracking script.
And that can dramatically change your load.
Yeah.
And dude, there are some scripts. Like we work with some customers that there's some pretty cool features out there and some other tools that do some things, right? That track and analyze all your visitors and send them over to another tool or do these things. And some of those tools we found actually dramatically decrease your page speed a lot. And so
like Microsoft Clarity, for example, would that be one?
Yeah, no? that one there, actually, we tested it. So Sean tested that because I'm like, we're not going to add this to our customer sites if it drags it down. And that one didn't, drag it down.
Interesting.
But there are some tools out there in this industry that people are using to kind of detect the website visitors that do pretty dramatically decrease page speed. And so that's where we have to kind of weigh that and say, hey, do I value the benefit this script or this outside tool gives me more than I value that extra 7 points in my page speed? Or do I value the 7 points in my page speed and I'm, you know what, this is kind of cool, but I'm not really getting the results or value out of this script. If that's the case, get the script off of there. But what too many people do is they keep on adding new things, adding more and adding more. They forget 4 scripts ago that they added, but they're not really using that thing anymore. And they're wondering why their site's loading so slow. If you're not actively using that script or that tool, get rid of it from the site and only use what you're getting real value out of, and be okay with the trade-off in page speed. If you're not at a 99 and you're at an 89 or you're at a 93, but you're pumped about the value you're getting from the tracking or from those scripts, that's okay. It's okay to be at a 93, not a 99, because you're getting the value that the scripts give you.
Yeah, that's good, man. The last one on scripts and plugins. So if you're not on Carrot, so we made an intentional decision to not allow Carrot members to add plugins to Carrot. One, because we have pretty much everything you would need. It's pretty rare where someone's like, oh, I got to add this plugin to my site. Like, it's just not a really common scenario.
Yep.
Secondly, if you're on WordPress, a good way to slow down your website is just to add a whole bunch of plugins.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see, like, you're in the back end of WordPress. You're like, oh, look at this plugin, I need this.
Yep.
It's a really good way to slow down your site. So I would just say keep it the minimum number of plugins possible and only focus on what you absolutely need. It's going to slow down your website. And then anytime you have issues, I mean, even outside of page speed, you're going to be having to go through all those plugins to see, you know, turn them off, which one's causing the website to break, which one's not meshing with the other ones well. So don't overload it with plugins. And on Carrot, that's not something you have to worry about.
Yep. Dude, so Braden, bring up my screen here. I found this blog post earlier and I want to show it to everybody here because when you're building custom, these are the things you don't think about, but someone's got to deal with. So either you're paying a person to deal with or you're having to deal with it. And even if you build a custom site, what a lot of people think is they're going, okay, well, awesome, I've got this person, it's loading quick now, it's great. But what happens in 12 to 18 months, right, when technology changes, when that plugin isn't updated, and all of a sudden you've got to go back to that web person, continue to pay them even more to revamp everything and update that plugin and do this. So I did a search. I just said, what are the slowest SEO? What are the WordPress plugins that slow down your website the most?
Yeah.
Okay. So this article title, Slow WordPress Plugins to Avoid in 2024, the ultimate guide. I'm just going to buzz through some of this, okay? So first of all, there's there's paid builders, security plugins, analytics plugins. I'm going to go through some of these, not all, because there's a lot of them, okay? Page builders. What is the slowest page builder? Elementor is one of the most popular, but it's also the king of slow, this article says. Many are aware of it and how to avoid it. You can avoid it, but it takes a lot of work and effort to sift through that. Brizzy, Divi.
A quick note on that, just because I can speak to it because I have an Elementor website. So it's not, I think Elementor used to be slower by nature. It looks like I used Elementor years ago and built a website, and it was like out of the box, crazy slow, super clunky, just a hot mess. Well, I built an Elementor website recently, just outside of real estate, just wasn't good use case for Carrot, but it was really fast out of the box. But the thing is, it's not that Elementor is slow. It's that they give you a million options and a million ways to edit and modify the website. So it makes it easy to make it slow.
There we go.
And so that's why Carrot is a little bit more, not a lot, but a little bit more creatively restrictive.
Yeah.
And why we don't let you do anything under the sun to the website, because it's easy to slow it down. Whereas with Elementor or especially Wix, any of those website builders, you can do whatever you want to it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could make a really slow website.
Dude. Killer point. That goes back to trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
So at Carrot, we did have to make that decision early on. I'll give you guys an example. At Carrot, you used to be able to customize anything and everything. You could choose any color under the sun for the background of your website. You could add any picture, an array of pictures. You could do anything you wanted to do. Yeah. But what would happen is people would log in, and they would see the high converting template and high speed template that we had created that they could then customize, and they would customize it. And what would happen? They later hit us up and say, man, this isn't ranking well, or it's not converting very well, or whatever, or it's loading slow. And we look at it and they customize it so much based on visually what they wanted to see that actually removed a lot of the performance elements. So then we asked the question, we said, well, are we working with, professional website developers as clients, or are we working with real estate investors and agents, or, now home services as well, who aren't professional website developers? Now, we have a lot of people who are pro website developers who use our product, right? Mm-hmm. But we said, no, we're really catering for performance. And so we purposefully put some restrictions in there to make sure that you don't go and mess up the things that are actually going to put more money in your pocket, okay, at the expense of you wanting it to look a certain way. So if there are some frustrations out there, y'all, where you're like, man, but I wanted this image slider, this carousel. We don't allow carousels on our system because they add zero value for increasing conversion. They slow things down. They decrease conversion. We make some of those decisions for you to put more money in your pocket. Security plugins slow things down. So I'm just going to go through some of these. Jetpack. So you're going to have to really look at these analytics plugins. So Monster Insights, WP Statistics. There's a bunch of them that do slow website page speed down. Social sharing plugins, Ultimate Social, and there's a million of them. So I'm just going to buzz through some of these. The reason I came on this page was the SEO plugins. So this one right here, the SEO framework, it says it's a very light plugin with the exact number of features, clean without the bloat, simple, and doesn't try to handle every aspect of your website, just page optimization. That's what we use. So we took that, we modified it for Carrot, and we said, okay, let's use the best, the fastest SEO plugins in the market. Let's build it into our system. Keep in what we love and what works great, and take out what doesn't. And we bring you the best. We make decisions and say we're bringing you the best. You don't have to make that decision. But then if you look at some other ones, Yoast, it says has aggressive marketing, but Yoast is bloated and it's the slowest plugin. So we'll talk with some people who are like, why can't I put Yoast in here? You can't put Yoast in there because we've done all the research, we've tested things, and we're making a decision for you to say, if you want this result and outcome of ranking well for Google and performance on page speed, we're making the decision for you to not put Yoast in. Even though you might get a couple more features over here, you're going to actually, in the end, I think, lose more by having that. So we've made so many decisions for you like that, that we made the call years ago to say, should we allow people to add any plugin they want to the system? And our decision is no. Like, you've came to Carrot to be able to build a high-performing website that makes you more money. Yeah. And we're going, well, we want to eliminate decision for you, do that research, keep on getting more feedback on what people want and what people need, but then we build it into our system so there's not a big old stack of plugins. Every plugin you add, it adds bloat, and we streamline all that for you.
That's a big thing, man. The time and the research costs to go out and decide what you would need to get if you're building separately. Yeah. So don't worry about any of that.
Yep.
The last one or two things. So images and videos, this is the biggie. So whether you're on Carrot or not, one of the most important things you can do is, and this is what so many people overlook, like if you get nothing else from this episode, resize your images before you upload them to your website based on where they're going to go. Yeah. If it's going to go in a tiny little block for a testimonial or something lower down on the page, and it's going to be a small image, say 300 by 200 pixels or something like that, it doesn't need to be and shouldn't be the size of a header image that's going to go in your header. Well, the only picture that needs to be the only image that needs to be as large as a header image is the photo for your header image. Yep. So anyways, resize them on your computer before you upload them to the website. The other thing is use WebP files. That's .webp instead of like a JPEG or a PNG. So if you're not on Carrot, you can go to, like I've gone to, just go to Google and type like WebP free image converter. It's going to be a website filled with ads. You can upload it to there, wait for it to convert it, download it, then re-upload it to your website. You can do that. Usually there's a limit, and then you just have the time cost, and then you got to upload it to your website. So it's another thing to worry about. There are some paid plugins that do it for you if you're not on Carrot. If you're on Carrot, this is something that's done automatically in the back end. So when you upload so how this works is you resize your image before uploading it to Carrot based on where you're going to use it. Yeah. Upload it to Carrot, it converts it automatically to WebP, so you don't have to worry about doing that, and then it's going to load a heck of a lot faster. So that's already done for you. It's going to compress it, change it to WebP. That's pretty much all you need to know about images as far as not slowing down your website with images. And I feel like the only other note I'd add on images is like only add an image to your website if it's going to add value. Yeah. I feel like when you're making a website, it's really easy to get stuck in creative mode and be like, oh, I got to add all these images.
Yep.
And people think they just need to make it look pretty. But if it's not helping tell the story of whatever the text is saying, if it's not supporting the text, then it's usually just noise, and it doesn't mean anything, especially if it's like a cheaper stock image. It's not one you took. It's not local to you. Don't worry about adding a bunch of images because you probably just don't need to.
Yep. And dude, if I can, because I think this would be helpful for people, Braden, show my screen real quick. And there we go. Beautiful. So I ran a speed test for this sample site. Okay, this isn't a real site that's on Carrot. And there's a couple tips we'll talk about here in a bit about how to actually run a page speed test correctly. But when I go down in here, we wanted to look at and go, well, what would I do if this one was a 94 out of 100, which this is? What would I do to get it even higher? Now, number one, do you need it higher? Is it really going to measurably make a big difference if it's a 96 or 97 or 98?
Yeah.
No, it's really not. If all factors are exactly the same and you're battling for a number one position for somebody, and they're a 97 out of 100 and you're a 94, number one, all factors are probably not going to be the same. There's probably some content optimization opportunities that are actually going to be a bigger boost, or there's some off-page opportunities that might be a bigger boost, or there's some opportunities with actually retaining the visitor on the website, building credibility, getting them to click through and engage in the website more and engage in becoming a lead more. That's going to increase your ranking more.
Yeah.
But all things considered, the 94 versus the 97, I truly feel, it's my opinion, isn't going to make a difference. Okay.
No, it's not.
Now, if you're an 82 or an 85 versus the 97 and all things are equal, I think it will make some sort of a difference. So I don't want you guys just agonizing over 2, 3, 4, 5 points. If you're over a 90, 92, 93, 94, don't agonize over that. I would agonize over making sure content is optimized better. I would agonize over making sure that your website has the right credibility and expertise and authority to engage people in there.
Yeah.
But in this example, I ran it, and at the very top, the biggest thing, it said properly size images. Okay. So the potential savings is 400 kilobytes. And my math might be wrong in this, but I think 400 kilobytes is like half a megabyte. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 1,000 kilobytes to a meg. It's very, very small.
Yeah, so it's small. So the very first one on here is this image, and we can go to the website to look at it. But the very first one on here is this image, and I'm on the actual website right now, so we'll find it. It's this one right here. Okay, so if we were to go in here and look, the image itself. Let me see if I can go find this image. The image itself, let's go to the media library. We're going to try to find the image. It's probably just copied in there. Okay, I'm not sure where it is. It was probably one that's linked out from another website, actually. But this image itself, what the page speed tool is showing me is it's saying, hey, number one, it's on the CDN. So you can see right here in the URL, it's being served up on a CDN within Carrot. That's great. The next thing that you're going to see on all these as you go, it's going to say lazy load somewhere down here. It says loading equal lazy. That means, number two, we're loading your images in a lazy load format, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing. So that's already taken care of for you.
Lazy is a good thing.
It is. But what you see here is you see that there's an opportunity to cut the file size down by probably 20 or 30%. And the image is much larger in the actual media file than what's being displayed. So if we're displaying an image of whatever pixels this is, if we're displaying an image and it's 200 by 200 on the actual screen, but the image file itself is a 500 by 500 pixel image, just go ahead and take that image file inside of Carrot's image editor and shrink it down to 200 pixels by 200 pixels. So you don't need a 500 image or 500 pixel file that's going to show up smaller. Here's another example of it right here. These checkboxes. And you're showing this page has these checkboxes on here a lot. Now, is it a big savings? It's a very small savings. It's a 1/10 of a kilobyte savings, but they add up when you have dozens of them on there. So the height and the width of the actual image in the file right here is 512 pixels by 512 pixels, okay? But we're displaying it on the screen much smaller. So when we actually go in here and look at these checkboxes, we're displaying them on the screen much smaller than what the actual file size is. Okay, so I would actually take that file size in the media library and just literally go edit it. Okay, so if I were to take this right here, you can go into the replace deal in here and just edit the image. But I'm gonna edit that image down. I'll show a spot where people can do this. You're gonna go to your media library right here, find whatever checkbox you're gonna use. You can see this is showing as 512 by 512 pixels. Okay, and then I can go in and edit this image. I click edit, and I want to scale this down. I'm gonna scale it down. Let's say I'm using it as a 50 by 50 pixel. I'm gonna go ahead and scale it. It just scaled it down to the actual size. It's done. That all happened within inside of Carrot in our image editor, and it saves some space for you.
Nice. Sweet. So that's pretty much the gist of it for images. Videos, if you're on Carrot, there's nothing you need to do. We lazy load videos as well. Excuse me. And essentially what this means is a video on your website is not going to load until somebody clicks on it to play it. So we'll keep it from loading, because if that wasn't happening, someone's going to pull up your website, the video is going to be on there, and it's going to try and load that entire video, even if they're not going to watch it. So we use lazy loading so it doesn't slow down the website, so it doesn't play the video until they watch it. So if you're on Carrot, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, that's it for images and videos. Any other notes on that, man?
Dude, the last one is I just put in content. Just one thing I want people to think of is naturally the more content that's on a page, it has more to load. Okay, so if you have a 3,000 word article or page and 14 images on there and 2 videos, it's going to naturally load slower than a 500 word page with 1 picture, no videos. Okay, now once again, that's not a bad thing. Okay, because long format content in this space, number one, is needed for ranking well in Google oftentimes, depending on how competitive the keywords are you're going after. And number two, having the right level of content, which images and videos are a part of that, actually increase conversion. We're going to be doing a future episode, and we're going to share some data and dive deep on how to use video. And in the data that we pulled across our entire network of 8,000 plus websites over the last 90 days when we pulled this data, for any website that included a video, that had a video on a page, if a person literally just clicked the video, clicked the play button on it, on average, doesn't matter what kind of video, on average, there was over 33% increase in conversion if they just clicked the play button. Okay, now just because someone clicks the play button, that doesn't mean that that's going to increase conversion. It's the fact that someone made the effort to put video content online,
right,
and it was likely content that built trust.
Yeah.
Now, if someone watched the video all the way through, and we look at that data set, for all the websites that had someone click a video and watch the video all the way through, on average is 112% increase in conversion. So when we're talking about trade-off on speed, I'd much rather have a little bit lower speed on that page because I added a video or two that were good videos and a couple of the right things, and increase my conversion by a lot because I built trust and authority, versus get an extra 2 or 3 points on my page speed.
Yeah, that's a good thought, man. I think that's all we got for the podcast portion. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch over into Q&A. So if you're listening to this,
I've got
go ahead,
one last thing. I added this in the notes towards the end. So there's the question, and pull up my screen if you can here, Braden. There's the question of, well, how do you then run a page speed score effectively, right? So the first thing I'm going to guide you guys on, let's just keep it really simple. I really do still like Google Page Speed Insights as a tool to use often. You can use our site audit tool, so carrot.com/site-audit. Put in your URL. It's going to run a page speed for you, so you can use that as a tool. But there's a few tips I want to give you guys. Okay, so number one, just default to Google Page Speed, but then test it against GT metrics from time to time. It's a good thing. Get up in that A or A plus range in GT metrics, and get up over the 90 on the performance in Google Page Speed. But then always run that test from the same location, the same servers if you can. So if you're trying to test, is my website quicker or slower? If you're on GT metrics, always choose the same server location. Okay, that's the number one. The next thing is test from the same network or network speeds your customers will likely be using. Once again, so If you know you're in a way slow loading area, in some of those more advanced tools like GT Metrics, you can slice and dice what type of mobile device and things like that you're testing from. You can't really do that in Google PageSpeed. But here's one thing that I want people to do is whenever you're running a page speed test, run it 3 times. Okay, run it 3 times. Usually the third time is actually going to be the most accurate speed. Okay, because you're going to run it a few times. It gets it gets the servers used to that website. And it also just goes through, and for some reason, after that third time, and I've corroborated this with other resources as well, that you're going to get among the most accurate speed. And we'll do this in the Q&A section here in a bit, but I ran it 3 times on this client's website. The first time I ran it was an 89. The second time I ran it was a 92. If I hit it again, it's probably going to change. It might be a 94, might be 96, it might be 92, who knows? But run it 3 times, that third one's likely going to be the most accurate.
Nice. Sweet. Well, hopefully you guys found that valuable. If you're listening to this live, throw your questions in the comments, and we're going to switch over into Q&A mode. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, go check out the community, community.carrot.com. Join us on Facebook. We'd love to answer your questions throughout the week and on the podcast here. And we'd love to hang out with you in the community.
Yeah.
But otherwise, leave us a review on the podcast and tell a friend about it, and we'll see you next week. We'll switch over into Q&A mode.
Sweet. See you guys there.
Sweet. All right, guys. We're jumping into Q&A mode. Looks like we got a couple questions in the chat. Jose, we'll pull up yours in just a second here and take a look at it. Mike Lorenzi had a good quick question we can answer. Does font size affect page speed? Is there a reason Carrot took away our ability to change the font speed? I think it meant to say, I think it was a typo. I'm going to guess it was took away the ability to change font size. I don't believe we took away the ability to change font size. You can still change font size unless there was a specific spot. But last time I used Carrot this week, you still change font size wherever you need to. Mike, let us know if there's a specific spot you're looking at where you want to change the font size. But in general, no. You don't have to worry about font size affecting page speed.
Yeah,
it's not an issue.
I pulled up a site here, and let's show this on the screen here. So I pulled up a site here. This is that test site.
Oh, we said headers.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, on the headers. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So I pulled up this here, and in regular text here. So this is just regular text, paragraph text. You've got small, medium, large, extra large, and the headers. If I go up to a header, let's grab this one here. That is a header there. That's let's see. Even here we have the small, medium, large, extra large. So I can make that large. I can make it small. I can make it extra large. So you still can adjust those sizes. Now, if there's a different size that you're looking for on that mic, you can use custom CSS. You can use custom CSS. Part of the challenge that we've had, and this is kind of where we want feedback, honestly. So if there's specific and certain reasons why you want a font size to be that's functional to performance in some way, it's more readable, it's going to increase conversion. And I'll give you guys an example. One thing that I like to do is make the font size of my buttons really, really big. And that's something that right now font size, and I think on 1 or 2 of our templates, I think it could be bigger on the button, right? So that's something we want to keep working on. So give us the specific situation. And oftentimes what we'll have is the client will come to us and have an aesthetic preference, but in our testing, making it that size actually makes it work worse oftentimes. So we've kind of dialed in our font sizes to maybe what is going to cover the vast majority of our clients and keep it within the realm of keeping things high performance. But like I said, there's probably some outer cases that we're missing there. So definitely let us know what you're looking to do with the font size. Is it bigger? Why? Where? And we'll dig in and see what we can do. But you can do anything you want to do on size in CSS. So if you know custom CSS, or if you are working with anybody, you can make your font sizes whatever size you want to make them over there. Do they impact SEO? So same thing. I just pulled up a website, and of course they impact readability. right? So that's a biggie. Is number one for me is my font sizes. I want them to be more on the readability side. Is it going to help me increase conversion? But then this guy says, yes, it does impact your SEO. In fact, a simple tweak to your theme settings page or style sheet has the potential to improve your SEO settings. Let's see, font size in the internet, So there is an impact on SEO in some way, shape, or form on your font sizes. And if you use certain types of font styles, so like font packs, there are some font packs that do load slower than others. So if you're looking for a real custom type of a font that is not part of our font pack or our font style, we've used the ones that are optimized the most for the web for speed, and some of the font packs out there can actually load a little bit slower.
Yeah. Let us know. Hit us up through chat, Mike, if there's a specific use case. I think the XL, to me, just my opinion, the XL is pretty big for a header. I think that's like the biggest you would want the text to be in a header. Anything past that, it's going to be a little huge, in my opinion. And you might, I don't know, it might be a little bit too much. But yeah, let us know if you're looking for CSS. Hit us up through chat. We might be able to help you out.
Yeah, we got you, man.
Jose Medina put his website through. Let's take a look at it. Any recommendations to make it perform better? Idealcashbuyer.com. So we can pull this up in a page speed. You got it, Trevor? Or you want me to pull it up?
Go for it, man.
Cool. All right, we're gonna go to.
So it was Ideal Cash.
Yeah.
Buyer.
You got it. So Google Page Speed Insights. We're gonna pull your site up, Jose. Another thing, anybody watching, Mallory is doing our coaching calls now every other Tuesday. And I think once a month right now we're doing SEO hot seats. So if you want to hop on those, grab a spot to them, you'll have a chance to do this as well. More time than we have in the Q&A on these.
Heck yeah. Okay. Let's do an analysis here.
I got your screen pulled up, Trevor.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. So I'll run it in here, and I'm also going to run it in the Carrot Site Audit tool because like I said, guys, every tool you use is actually going to give you a different score for many reasons, because it's doing it from a different server. It's got some different criteria that it's testing on. So it's a natural thing if you get some variance in your scores depending on the tool that you use. And like I said, you're going to get variance in your scores on the same tool if you run it again. So look at this. So this one is loading quite slower. So out of the box, the Carrot sites are going to load really, really high. So we're going to see what it is that you can improve on here. What are the biggest things? And I bet live, I mean, I'm not the techie, so we might need to bring Sean in here. Sean, are you available? But either live or here over the next day, we can probably start to make some of the adjustments with you or for you and show that page speed going up. So I'm going to click Analyze again. So I did it once. That was one of the lower ones I've seen in a long time, actually. So the mobile score already went up. Okay, the desktop was about the same. We'll do third time here. See what it does here. And then this is the one we're going to run with. Okay, this is the one that we're going to run with and see, okay, well, what can we optimize from here? And like I said, both of these scores are way lower than a normal Carrot site out of the box. There's definitely some things that we're going to be looking at to optimize on this puppy. So come on, Google Page Speed. Come on. It's still loading for me.
Mike, I'm going to put a link through. You're asking where you can get on the SEO hot seat. Looks like the 30th, so this next Tuesday, we're doing our first SEO hot seat. I just put a link through where you can check that out.
Cool. So the big thing here, and like I said, I'm not the tech and optimization expert. So what we can do on this one is we can bring in someone on our team, probably Sean on our team, and we're going to work on this one, and we'll report back in this thread exactly what we did to make it higher. Okay. So let's go ahead and click on all these at the start. All right. So properly sized images. This alone, it says, is 1,859 kilobytes of potential savings. So there's a bunch of these house images, the logo image. There's just a lot of potential savings on these. So the hero picture is something that we can even look at there, of making some size adjustments. So I'm just kind of go through some of these, and then we'll look inside of your media files, see what we can adjust in there. So this hero image, it's a killer hero image, but it looks like there's a lot of opportunity to adjust that file size. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. We're going to find that hero image. that was uploaded somewhere. There's a lot of files in here, so we'll find it. We'll find it. And that's my guess is like I said, it's probably...
Oh, there it is. Third row up, far right.
Okay.
I think.
Let's see. Yeah, this is 2 megabytes right there. Want to find... Yeah, so yeah, look at this right here. So it's a 2 megabyte file. Okay, when you upload a 2 megabyte file into our system, it is going to crunch it down as much as it can. But if it's a giant file, I want to probably take that to an outside image compressor first, and then bring it in, and our system will compress it even more. But what we need to find is how large that image is actually needing to be served up as. Okay, might take me a couple minutes here, guys. Like I said, if Sean were available, which he might be out today.
Yeah, I think the jokes might lengthen this podcast a little bit more if Sean was available.
That's right. So we're going to find that front page, and we're going to figure out those optimizations. But it looks like the vast majority of the ones on here are image optimizations or image issues. So we'll find that homepage right there. Okay. So let's pop through. I'm not exactly sure what size this one should be. Okay. Yes, I'm just going to we're going to grab Sean or someone on our team to help us with this as we go. Cool. So this is something we can do. First of all, we can go in here, make the image, scale it down, edit that down. We definitely don't need a 4,000 pixel wide image on here. Okay, so let's even hit a Google. You know, what pixel size should a website hero image be? And I do this.
Beth is texting me right now. She says we recommend 1920 by 800.
Boom. There we go. That's why
Beth
we have an amazing team. So I'm going to click scale right here, and I just scaled it down. So my gut is now that image file is already going to be quite a different size. Okay, so let's see, shrink it down. It didn't shrink that image file size down. It usually does. So there's a couple things we do. I would take that same image that you already had offline. I would throw it into an image compressor first, and just grab whatever one you want to grab here. Take that file, throw it in here. You're probably going to be able to get that image compressed quite a bit down. Let's see if I can just do it here. Save image as. Save the desktop. And this is me not being the technical expert on this, y'all. So I'm going to hack through it just like you would as a non-technical user.
Mike, you're asking when resizing images, what screen size should we be optimizing for? What screen size? I'm not sure I fully understand the question. When you're resizing images, it more matters for where that image is going to be placed on the page, not necessarily for a certain screen size, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. I found it. So I'm going to drag this puppy in here, guys. We'll see what it does. Okay. So it reduced the file size by 22%. So I'm going to grab that file now, and I'm going to get it re-uploaded back in here, and I'm probably going to delete these other ones as we go. So I've got that there. Go to my downloads. So I've got to go grab that image, uncompress it, and I'll just call it something different. What's his market here? Sunrise, Florida. Okay. So we'll go Sunrise, Florida. Sweet. Let's throw it back in your image library. Upload it right there. And so that one there that we are throwing in and it's working and uploading right now is going to be a good size smaller. So we took that from a 2 megabyte file down to, we cut it by, what is that, 75%, right? So that's going to be a big deal right there. You definitely want those images sub 500 kilobytes. That's what we said earlier. So we got that one down to 500 kilobytes, and just use some sort of an online compressor. The tool that we have built into Carrot is we do compress those images quite a bit. So you saw when we did this one here, it took your 2 megabyte file and compressed it by 22%, right? Then when I uploaded it, it compressed it again by a lot more to make it down to that 75% compression. So we're going to take that image now, and let's see if we can't rename this something so we know what it is. Let's go. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to that homepage, guys. Like I said, this is me stumbling through it myself. Okay, and I'm going to replace it right here with one from the media library. I just added this one. Let's see if it's the right one. Come on, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay. Yeah, it's just grabbing the images I uploaded. Okay, there it is. Cool. So I'm going to take that one. I'm going to set that as the featured image. So now we have a different image on here. I'm going to go ahead and click update. Now it's not going to immediately show on the page speed deal, that improvement. So we're just going to go through the rest of the list then. Okay, we're just going to go through the rest of that list and go, okay, what else? So here's the next one. It's this house image on the web page. So let's go bounce back to that house image on the web page, and let's find that one, optimize it. So just going to go down the list one by one. And it's the same type of an issue or an opportunity. Okay, so I can go to replace. I can go upload a new image. I can go download this image, throw it through the compressor. If I do that 4 or 5 times, that's going to be a big help. Okay? Now,
while you're doing that, Trevor, Mike, you're asking, we have a little thread going in the chat. He said, if I look at my page on, he was asking about, like, basically how many pixels per inch should I be optimizing for, like what screen size? And so you were saying, Mike, if I look at my page on 1080 screen versus a 4K screen, it's going to get pixelated on the bigger screen. In theory, I kind of understand what you're saying, but you're going for no larger than your average computer. So as long as you, I understand I'm totally oversimplifying this, but as long as you follow the guidelines in that article that I linked up on like image optimization, image sizes, you don't have to worry about it. No one's going to be looking at your computer on like a 4K screen or on a larger TV screen. And so those guidelines are based on, what you need on your care website for somebody looking at it on a computer.
Yep, 100%.
If that helps.
So we'll see. I'm running this page speed test again, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, it might not actually grab the thing. Yeah, so it already increased it by over 10 points right there, which is good. But then the next thing is just kind of going down it one by one with all these images. And then what I'm going to pop in and look at, and I don't know for sure, I'm going to look to see if there are any scripts in here. I don't know if there are, but that's the next thing I usually look at. And so it's just the Facebook pixel there. Same thing, you could move that down, and I'm just gonna test this. I'll move it back up if it's after this, okay? But I'm just gonna save it there. And like I said, it might take a few more tests for this to really recognize the new changes, since it was instant like that. I'm just going to analyze it again. It may take a little bit for it to really recognize the new changes, y'all. But I'm just going to go through and just make those updates and see if anything changes. Okay, so that didn't make a big difference there. Usually the Facebook script doesn't. But I'm going to get the rest of the images updated there, and then that's probably going to be the biggest part there.
Yeah.
For that site.
Rock and roll.
So hopefully that's helpful, but like I said, let us know if you're having troubles going through and doing that. But that's something I would always do. If you have large images, always go through some sort of image compressor. If it's over 2 megabytes for sure, throw it into an image compressor, and then that's going to compress it a bunch. Then throw it into our system. Then our system crunches it down even further.
Sweet. All right. Well, looks like that's all the questions we have for today. Yeah. If you have any questions that pop up after the fact, let us know in the Facebook group. We'll make sure to tackle them on next week's Q&A after the podcast. Yeah. But thank you, everybody, for hopping on. Appreciate it. Thanks for nerding out with us on site speed. And everybody, we will see you next week.
Heck yeah.
Have a good week,
awesome.
everyone.
Appreciate y'all.